Ifeoma Chikere stood at the grand doors of St. Jude's Cathedral in Ikoyi, her father's grip digging into her arm like a vice. Chief Basil Chikere smiled for the cameras, but his fingers told the truth. She was not a daughter today. She was a transaction. Golden chandeliers bathed the hall in holy light, but all Ife saw was a tomb, her own, wrapped in ivory gorge and coral beads that clinked like chains. The whispers of Lagos's elite swirled around her like perfume and poison. Kola, the groom, waited at the altar, Nigeria's oil prince, with the reputation of a warlord and the charm of a serpent. Ife's heart hammered. One step, then another, backward. The murmurs turned to gasps as she yanked free and ran, her jewel unraveled mid-sprint, beads clattering across marble as she burst through the cathedral doors into the sun. The air hit her face like freedom. Almost. A hand caught her wrist. She spun, and there he was. Kola. Calm. Dangerous. "You can run, wife," he said, voice smooth as silk soaked in fire, "but you'll never escape me." She wrenched free and fled, satin heels abandoned on the cobblestones. The city blurred around her, but one truth stayed sharp. This wasn't a wedding. It was a warning. The Elash wind howled like it remembered her name. Ife stumbled into the forgotten beach house, heart thudding harder than the waves crashing nearby. The place smelled of dust, seaweed, and a time before everything broke. It had once been her grandmother's sanctuary, before power, before politics. She slammed the iron latch shut and collapsed onto cracked terrazzo floors, gasping, peeling off beads and coral like they were leeches. She lay there for hours, maybe days, until the scent of coffee drifted into her dreams. Eyes wide, breath shallow, she crept towards the kitchen. There he was, Kola, rolled up sleeves, brewing 2 cups like he owned the silence. "I see you're awake," he said, placing 1 mug on the counter. "Come now, Ife. It's time to go home." Her scream never came, because the door exploded open first. Chief Basil barged in, flanked by Dapo, her brother, her betrayer, and their mother, Lady Ngozi. Rosary clutched like a lifeline. "You disgrace us," her father thundered. "You'll return with your husband, willingly or not." If he tried to flee, Dapo caught her. "It's for the family," he muttered, tightening his grip. She slapped him. He slapped her back. Stars burst behind her eyes. Dragged to a black SUV, shoved beside Kola, Ife looked back one last time. Not at her family, at the ocean. The only one who hadn't lied. The gates of Banana Island swung open like jaws. Kola's mansion loomed, cream walls, gold accents, a palace disguised as a prison. Armed guards nodded as they passed, but Ife barely saw them. Her head throbbed, her cheek burned, and her spirit felt like it had been scraped raw. Inside, the silence was worse than shouting. Marble floors stretched endlessly. A maid in white lace led her upstairs without a word. The bedroom was fit for a queen. Silken sheets, chandelier light, closets lined with designer despair. But Ife sat on the edge of the giant bed and wept for the girl who used to dream. That night, she didn't hear him enter. Kola knelt beside her quietly, a small jar in his hand. He dabbed ointment on her swollen cheek, each touch feather-light. "I didn't know he'd do that," he muttered, voice low. "You don't have to love me. But no one will hurt you again." She didn't answer, because she didn't believe in saviors, only survivors. Morning light filtered through glass walls, but Ife felt no warmth. This place, its silence, its size, swallowed her whole, She moved like a ghost, searching the halls not for beauty but for exits. Somewhere, somehow, there had to be a way out. She found him in the gym, Kola, bare-chested, lifting like vengeance had weight. She stepped into the room, her voice sharp. "You can't keep me here." He didn't flinch. Instead, he tossed a folded paper at her feet. She opened it and froze. A marriage certificate, stamped, signed, her name scrawled perfectly at the bottom. "But I never—" "You ran from the altar," he said, grabbing a towel. "In our world, silence speaks louder than words." "Ify," he added, voice gentler, "you're not a prisoner. You're my wife." Her throat tightened. "You forged this." He said nothing, because he didn't have to. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she blinked them away. Rage and shame churned in her chest like a storm. Fine. If he wanted a wife in name, he'd get one in show. But she would never be his in spirit. Not unless she chose it. And she never would. That afternoon, Ify changed her game. She smiled when spoken to, wore the silk gowns the maids laid out, even laughed at one of Kola's dry jokes. He watched her with careful eyes, like he knew something had shifted, but couldn't tell what. When he asked if she'd like to visit her family home to collect her things, she nodded. "It's time I faced them properly," she said softly. The Chikere estate in Ikoyi was buzzing with staff and silent judgment. Her mother kissed her cheek like nothing had happened. Her father offered juice. Dapper wouldn't meet her eyes. Inside her old room, nothing had changed. Childhood sketches still lined the walls. Her favorite yellow slippers sat by the bed, untouched. She packed slowly, just her things. No gold, no lace, no gifts. Just the pieces of herself that still belonged to her. As she zipped the small suitcase, Kola stood by the doorway, arms folded. "Ready?" She nodded. But inside, her mind was racing. This was it. The final mask before the escape. The airport buzzed with the usual chaos, blaring announcements, the shuffle of travelers, the scent of jollof rice wafting from a nearby lounge. Ify clutched her stomach and winced. "I don't feel well," she whispered. Kola's brows furrowed. "You want to see a doctor?" She shook her head. "Just need a restroom." He hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. She disappeared into the crowd and didn't return. By the time Kola realized, Ify was already past security, boarding a flight to Accra on a ticket bought under the name Amaka Njoku. No phone, no trace, just breathless freedom. Osu welcomed her like an old friend. Sandy air, loud colors, music in every corner. She checked into a quiet boutique hotel, her window facing the sea. For the first time in months, she danced. On the beach, in a market full of strangers, in her own skin. But freedom has a scent, and he had her scent. She spotted him days later across the market square. Simple shirt, quiet steps, eyes locked on her through a sea of laughter and color. She ran, but he was already waiting at the hotel. "You can run, wife," Kola said softly, stepping from the shadows. "But you'll always find me." The hotel room was dark, lit only by the city's glow bleeding through the blinds. Ify sat stiffly by the window, heart pounding like war drums. Kola poured himself palm wine from a bottle he must have brought from Lagos. He didn't speak, just sipped and stared out. She couldn't take the silence anymore. "Why?" Her voice cracked. "Why not let me go?" He didn't turn to her. "Because I didn't just marry you to save you." She scoffed. "From what? My freedom?" "No. He finally faced her, voice raw. From myself. Ify's brow furrowed. He stepped closer, unarmed, unguarded. Your father owed me millions. He played with power and lost. I could have destroyed him. Her breath caught. But I didn't. Because one day, years ago, I saw you barefoot in his garden, laughing, sketching trees on the back of a newspaper. I never forgot your face. Not once. He sat on the floor across from her, legs crossed like a boy at confession. I wanted something pure, something not touched by this city's filth, so I bargained for you. Her chest tightened. You think I'm a monster? Maybe I am. But I loved you before I knew your name. Ify stared at him. Everything tilted. She hated him, but she also didn't. 1 year later, Lagos glowed. The Chikeres and Badaikis threw a celebration that shut down half of Banana Island. Gold-threaded ankara flowed through the garden. Talking drums shook the sky. Laughter, champagne, fireworks, everything glittered. But inside the glass ballroom, there was only silence. Kola held Ify close as they swayed beneath the chandeliers, lost in each other. The past had not disappeared. It had burned itself into their bones. But something new had grown over the ashes. You could have crushed me, she whispered against his chest. Why didn't you? He lifted her chin gently. Because the moment you ran, I knew I'd chase you forever. Tears welled in her eyes. But this time they weren't from pain. She touched her forehead to his. You don't have to chase anymore, she breathed. I'm already yours. Their kiss came slow and deep, no longer a battle, but a vow. Around them, the city kept spinning. But in that moment, they were still. Not enemies. Not captor and captive. Just two hearts, fire-forged and finally free.